Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the WVU Mountaineer Postgame Show. Greg Chris, Frank Fear, and Dwayne Woods joining us tonight. And Frank, I want to say up front, I got a thunderstorm going on in the background, so if you hear some loud banging, it's not me beating on the wall. It's a thunderstorm rolling through. And man, I tell you what, not much to say. I do, on a dismal night, I do have some good news. Oliver Straw, the punter, was seen limping after the game, but it has been reported that the only problem was his leg was 2 inches longer because he had to punt so many times. That's why he was limping. He's not hurt. His leg just got extended because of the number of punts. Other than that, dismal night. So, we feared this could happen. We didn't think it would happen, but here we are. And
right.
Back to the old drawing board, as they say.
All right. Yeah.
I think the show's all yours tonight, Greg. Dwayne and I are going to listen because we don't have much to say. The crazy thing about this, though, is, and I was telling my wife, Kathy, at halftime, I poured over the stats. And if you didn't know what the score was, you could have said that West Virginia was close. I mean, if not in the league, Marchiol had better passing numbers than Jalen Daniels, and the total yardage was only 50 yards apart. But Kansas was so efficient, and Dwayne may not know this, but certainly Greg does. We've been screaming, kick the ball in the end zone, get a touchback. Yep. And we can't do it. And we got burned for a long kickoff return and a touchdown. And it just turned everything around. And and then we're fair catching everything. And they're fair catching virtually nothing. I'll stop with this. I think we just got out coached tonight. I think Kansas had a much better game plan. Our offensive game plan wasn't very good. And, Dwayne knows this from his years of experience. If you don't have an effective offense, you're just not going to, it's just the same thing with the defense, but you got to have an offense and you got to have a defense. And we just don't have an offense right now. And it's just, it's almost, you hope, but I'll stop there.
Yeah. And, our game plan, it just seemed like, it seems like when something's breaking down and don't work, then nothing works. And our plan goes out the window, it seems like. And, I didn't know that Edwards was hurt. I hadn't heard that all week. With him not being in there, I'm sure that altered their plan just a little bit. But still yet, it just seemed like our offensive plan was just haphazard. Trying to adjust on the fly and that sort of thing. We just couldn't do it. Our defense, I thought, played well at times. We did pretty well on the run, that sort of thing. But we did let, Daniels get out of the pocket quite a few times, scramble on us, that sort of thing. And, another thing I noticed is a lot of the passes that he didn't complete, he had people open and just missed them. And we had some real struggles, I felt like, back here trying to cover folks. And I don't know. It's just it just looked like we were playing Ohio again. And I think when these teams have the schemes together, they know what our weaknesses are, and they take advantage of that. And I thought that's what Kansas did tonight. I thought, like you said, great game plan by them. I think they had it figured out from the get-go. And, it was pretty evident that they just went right down the field, scored, and we couldn't do anything, couldn't move the ball at all. And I think our offensive line struggled again. You hope that they were trending upward, but tonight I think they took a step back. They got a little bit better later on in the game, but just a poor performance by them. And you feel sorry for Nico. I'm not so sure, Frank, and I haven't said this. I've been a backer of his. I'm not so sure that he fits the mold for this offense that they run. I think you got to have some wheels back there with him, and he just don't. He's just not fast enough, and I think he really struggles with that. And I feel bad for him though. When he does drop back to throw, he just has no time, and receivers aren't open, that sort of thing. So, got a lot of work to do, man. A lot of work, and I think tonight really exposed that.
Mm-hmm. Dwayne, can you ever remember a game when you played at WVU that was like this?
No, I don't think we had a game that was that one sided. We on the losses. Well, in my senior year, now we went down to Virginia Tech, and that was after the great offensive line that I came into school with had all gone. It was all the young kids in the offensive line. Down at Blacksburg, we lost 27-7, I think.
Mm.
But that was my red shirt year. That year was an extra. I was supposed to graduate in with the class that I came in. I had that extra year because I had a knee injury in '74. Maybe that one time you kind of felt like that, where the game was so one sided and everything they did was right and everything Mountaineers did was just wouldn't work. But that's just the kind of the way that the game kind of went. It's a lot of runs for no gain or 1 yard, and then you keep running the same play over and over again because basically you're down to your third and fourth team and run in the backfield. And that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt any team. Yeah, that was one factor. And I saw a lot of. I don't know if anyone else saw it, but I saw a lot of holding and tugging by Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of it. But then it wasn't called. So
Yeah.
and
Dwayne talking about the running backs, you noticed, or I did a couple of times, I'm sure Dwayne did, our backs would get through and have a hole, and if they would bounce it to the outside a little bit, they could probably pick up another 8-10 yards or whatever, but they don't have that vision. And I think when you get down, into your third, fourth guys on that depth chart, you run into things like that because they're inexperienced. I don't know if that's talent wise, but you saw, and I saw that several times tonight, where we would get through the hole, we'd never bounce it outside, or we just plow straight ahead and go down instead of bouncing outside and getting that extra yardage. That kind of thing happens with backups in the game, and missing blocks, missing blitz assignments, that sort of thing. And it seemed like we did a lot of that. So I think that the backfield problems are really glaring right now, and not only blocking, but field vision and awareness and that sort of thing. But that's the kind of stuff that comes with experience. You learn, and hopefully these guys are learning. I'm not giving up on them. I think prior to the season we talked about the prospects of winning 6-7 games, which would be awesome. Now I'm thinking 4 or 5 games would be great. And I think we kind of walked into a really a bad situation tonight. We're coming down from the Pitt victory. Everybody was sky high. Then you have that letdown. I don't know that we had a letdown. I just didn't think we played very well. I don't know if that was part of it or not. But you go into Kansas, they got a good team, they got a new stadium. It just seemed like everything, it was just a storm waiting to hit us, and walking into that. So, and for a young, inexperienced team that hadn't played together a whole lot, it's going to be problematic. And I just think it's, these are just the things that we're going to have to deal with and live with for now. as we build this thing. And what we have to hope for is to see improvement from some of these guys from week to week. And if we can do that, then maybe it gives us a little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that'd be good.
What was your overall assessment, Dwayne? If you were on the sidelines, you were watching. What's your feeling? It's so different from last weekend.
Well, up front, we were outsized up front, and it almost looked like out muscled at times.
Yeah.
The Kansas team was pushing the linemen around, and there wasn't any holes to run in. The backs didn't have anywhere to go. And then the passing was it was too short and too quick. You take your wide receivers out. If you're down to just one, then all they did was just they double teamed the wide outs basically. So he couldn't pass wide. He didn't pass long, and it was 3 and out over and over again. After a while, that tires out the defense, and the defense got spent more and more time on the field. The Kansas's drives were longer and longer, and then they begin to score, and they started scoring. And there, like I mentioned before the game too, there was a couple trick plays by Kansas where they really faked the defensive backs out and got wide open. Made for some long plays that led to the field just being flipped for the whole game. The ball was backed up where we were just starting drives inside the 20. They were starting drives at the 50, and that made a difference, a big difference.
Yeah, particularly in the first half.
Yeah.
I'm looking at stats here just to reinforce. This is a crazy game. The final score 41-10, right? First
Right.
downs, Kansas 19, West Virginia 18. Total
Right.
yards, Kansas 388, West Virginia 324. Passing, Kansas 146, West Virginia 142. Time of possession, Kansas 34, West Virginia 26. But those numbers are too close for the score to be 41-10.
I know, but
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think it goes back, Frank, to what you said in the opening with the special teams. If you think back, our first punt they returned at 35 yards, then another kickoff they returned at 40 some yards.
Yeah.
The return to one for a touchdown. If you're starting your drives, at the 50-yard line as opposed to the 15 like we were,
Yeah.
then your yardage, don't have to be that much to score. And
That's right.
they intercepted a pass and took
Yeah.
it back close. So there's a number of things there that contributed to that. But I think the special teams, which we thought were solid, especially the kickoff, really was porous tonight. And that kind of affects those.
No, that's right.
Affects those stats just a little bit. But yeah, you're right. You look at those stats, you think, well, gosh, that's a close game. But when you have special teams breakdown and the big turnovers, that sort of thing, really it has a big impact. And like Dwayne said, the field was we couldn't flip the field on them. We couldn't get them down into their red zone area to start their drives. They like I said, they were starting their drives on the 40, 50-yard line. We're starting ours on the 15, and we couldn't get the field flipped. And it just seemed like they were in our territory all night long. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but special teams was a lot of it.
Yep.
And,
Dwayne, you were going
to go ahead.
Dwayne, you were going to get something in.
Yeah, I was agreeing with Greg. One of the things though, we're still only two losses. If we win next week, we're still in a winning season. So
right.
he has to have a good week, because I noticed today that there were some other teams that were upset and having bad days, which includes Utah that we have to play next week. So if they have a good week of practice, and get back in the weight room and work out, and just let's see what if they do can improve. It's going to be a home game, so that's one good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and something else Dwayne said about the offensive line getting kind of pushed around and that sort of thing. You know, when you see our offensive linemen, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but you know, when I see them and they show them up close, they just look like babies. I mean, they look young, and strength wise, you don't see those big, muscular hulking guys in that offensive line. And I think it comes from youth. And you know, I know there's probably some of them that's played a few years, but they just don't look mature and big and strong. And I mean, that just seems like that's the case to me when I look at them. They just look young and not strong enough yet.
All right. Yeah, that's what I noticed.
What do you guys think about this comment from A.S. Rawls? We have the ability to be in every football game. We play the defense with the defense that we have. The issue is going to be offensive production. And here's the key point. What do you guys think about this? We need to start Wilkins.
Well, you know, I agree that you know, our defense is not bad, and we've got to get offensive production. If we can get our offense going, we'll be fine. Quarterback wise, you know, I don't know. I mean, like I said earlier, I just don't think Nico is the man for this system. You know, I think he's got talent and all that. I just don't know that he's the guy for the system. And when you have a porous offensive line like we've shown so far, you got to have somebody back there who can move and, you know, avoid those guys and escape. And Wilkins kind of showed that tonight. I mean, you know, both of the backups that came in showed some mobility and the ability to run. You just worry what that does to our passing game. You know, it seemed like all we did was run, you know, quarterback sweeps and that sort of thing. So I don't know how well they can throw the ball.
That's right.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, let them play. I mean, I'm all about if you don't have a chance to win, and your quarterback doesn't give you any better chance to win than if you played another guy, then I say play the young guy and just let him grow and build and see what he can do. You know, always the most popular person is the backup. You know, especially comes in and does something good. But you know, give him a shot. Let him see see what happens. I mean, they showed some flashes tonight. You know, being really skilled. I don't know again about throwing the ball, but we're not being effective throwing it now. So why not give it a shot? I kind of agree.
Yeah, I don't think I would put a freshman in for starter right now. So you haven't lost anything yet. You haven't lost your entire season just yet. I think that Marco, if he just had some passing time, if you sit back and watch, the line is caving in on both sides. The tackles are getting upfield. The defensive push is just coming in too fast, and then the wideouts and tight ends don't have enough time to get clear. So he can throw, and I think that I'll still stay with that for at least a few more games. I wouldn't change right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think, Frank?
You know, this, as I put it in perspective, last week, we thought we had a starting running back because he got over 100 yards. As you said at the beginning, we didn't know Edwards wasn't going to play. And we thought that, you know, we had a scat back to replace White in Ash. And you see how many times he touched the ball 7 times tonight, 12 yards for 1.7 yards.
Right.
So Clay Ash didn't do much. And now we're saying, well, no, we don't know if Ash is the White replacement, and we don't know if Marquiol is the right player. And you're right. I mean, it takes a very special, well, I shouldn't say it takes a very special quarterback to run Rich Rods. It takes a special quarterback to run any system. But there, as you say, Greg, it's a matter of fit. And it may well be that, you know, Marquiol was not recruited for this system. He was recruited for Neil Brown's system, and so yeah, he was doing better in the second half when he rolled to his left, much better, but still not good enough. I think from the very beginning, the feeling was it was between Marchiol and Henderson. So I agree with Dwayne. I think that Wilkins can be a relief quarterback. I understand what A.S. Rawls is saying. He's saying that put him in the backfield with Edwards. We don't know how seriously Edwards is hurt, but I think you got to go with Henderson. He's the guy that has already played Power 4 football. He played at Texas A&M. He can pass. He can't. It's not just run. So that's what I think, at least.
Yeah, and like I said, with our offensive line problems, you just think that we need somebody back there that has some mobility and ability to escape some of this. Because like Dwayne said, those the defensive line is just caving in on us, and we can't give anybody any time back there to throw. And the only way to create that time on your own is to be able to move. And Henderson obviously can move. And I'd go and give it a shot. I really think that I would try something. I don't know if that's the answer. And I don't like to say things like that much because I was a coach, and I know that coaching staff is with those guys every single day, and I know they're going to put the people in that they think are going to give us the best chance to win. So I don't really like to make things critical like that and say, well, they should do this and they should that, because I don't know what they should do. But I would like to see it, like to see it and give it a shot and see what happens.
Well, we've got another statement here. Let me read it. Curtis D 316 is saying, I think you should just take your lumps with Fox or Wilkins for the future. Nico is not the answer. And Henderson would be better off playing running back. What do you think about that, Dwayne?
Well, you can't put a guy back that to be a running back if he didn't grow up that way. It doesn't work. The guy, he might look good because he's wired up, and those guys, running backs, I can attest to with all the scars and bruises that I have still right now. we have to take a serious pounding.
Yeah,
I played in games where I can remember one game where I couldn't remember which sideline I was supposed to go to. So you're dazed out there and you're dizzy, and you have to get used to that. Yeah. You have to recover. You have to recover quickly from each lick each time, because it's not easy. I couldn't play a quarterback, and a quarterback couldn't switch over to a running back.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work.
Frank, I wouldn't. I don't know about running back. I agree. I don't know if I put him back as a running back, but I wouldn't think it would be too bad of an idea to maybe throw him in at receiver a little bit and let him run some pass patterns. Because our receiving core is really limited as well. Our offensive weapons are limited big time right now with our running back injuries and our wide receiver injuries. And we just don't have much going on at either of those positions. I think like a Garrett Green, you could transform into a receiver a little bit easier than you could a running back. Not that he would be instantly a great receiver, but he would give you another threat out there. To catch the ball. I don't know if he can catch it or not. That might be the problem, but. I don't think I'd try him at running back, but I may throw him out there as a receiver occasionally and let him give that a shot. But and I don't know that I would use Scotty Fox just yet.
Here's
I don't know if I
guys. Here's another comment from A.S. Rawls that I think is interesting. Nico is a good passer of the football, but when it opened up for him to run, they close it by the time he gets to the line of scrimmage. And I don't remember that from last year. I remember him from last year and the year before as a pretty functional runner. But again, the system is different. The system and the talent, but the system is different.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I think this system of Coach Rod's is more speed related. I think that speed is imperative when you run that kind of offense. And I think Nico is a capable runner. He, like I said, you showed that last year, but there's a difference when you're running a system where it's run by surprise, more or less, and then when it is run by speed. And I think Rich Rod's offense is more designed around speedy people. I think that's why he struggles. I don't think he's that fast. I think he's a capable runner. I just don't think he has great speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one last thing, and I don't mean to hold the time, but excuse me. One last thing is that when you don't have anybody else that can do it, you don't have running backs who can make things happen. You don't have an offensive line that can open up holes or protect. It's just like I said a couple of weeks ago after the Ohio game. It don't matter what you got back there. If you can't get some blocking and all parts of the game involved where you can use a little bit of mixing things up and surprising people, it's not going to make a difference who you have back there.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Big time team sport. What could happen is a complete changeover, immediate changeover with the talent he has. Put a fullback back in the backfield and a running back behind him and run that particular offense for a while. All the teams have switched over, and it would shock them. It would just absolutely shock. It come to a real shock because the way the defenses are lining up now is linebackers running it up, charging up, making the tackles. The tackles are just pushing people out of the way. They aren't making tackles. And if that was happening right now, we had a fullback on a linebacker right now, we'll play. And I was back there. If I was a running back right now behind a fullback, I think the drives would last longer and the drives would go further. But
Yeah.
That
That reminds me of the days of Jim Braxton and Bob Gresham.
Yeah.
Just what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the days of Dwayne Woods and Artie Owens?
Hey, I tell you what, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, man. Same thing. Well, and in the same coach.
Yeah.
If it works, get guys in there that can replicate. Here's another one on defense, again from AS Rawls, and it's defense. He says, we, West Virginia, we're going to struggle and have a long day with any quarterback that is mobile. We struggled against Ohio with the mobile quarterback. We struggled against Kansas. And next week we have Utah. We have to match up. And we have, everybody has trouble with mobile quarterbacks. But Mizzou didn't. They were able to get on a roll, and they just ran away from Kansas 2 weeks ago in Columbia. But we have trouble. Everybody has trouble with something. That gives our defense trouble. And I think the way you described it, Dwayne, is right. It's sort of a slow leak. It's a close game, but then it's not close because your defense, it just is out in the field too much.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly the way I saw it. The defense runs off, grabs a minute rest, and run back on the field. And
that's right.
But they're wearing down the whole game. And the whole day it becomes a long day.
Yeah, I want to look and see how Missouri's doing tonight. They're finally ahead of South Carolina. They're at home. It's 26-20 with 2 minutes left, and Missouri has the ball in the South Carolina 33. So South Carolina's a good team, and so it looks like they're gonna beat South Carolina.
Frank, you guys are breaking up on me a little bit. I can't hear real well, but
okay.
I want to make another comment too and get your all's thoughts on this. Watching the offense and his system and everything, and then Dwayne talking about basically the power I type set. About the tempo, that hurry up offense. You wonder if I know there are advantages to it, but at the same time, I think sometimes there's big disadvantages to it. I think that's kind of hurting us right now. That tempo is I don't know. It just seems like that we're trying to hurry up, but we're not being efficient with it. And I just wondered if anybody else is thinking that.
Dwayne, you're in a better position to respond to that. It's a good question.
The hurry up offense really works when it's surprising to a team. But that Kansas had seen it before and was prepared. They didn't sub on defense except the one time, one or two times real early in the game when the guy he took his he subbed in because we subbed in on offense. The defense had the opportunity to sub. The ref gets in behind the play. He took all the time he wanted to get off the field. So that hurts. And you're rushing to get a play in and get it taken off, but you have to stay down in a position to wait until that guy decides to make it to the sideline. And he takes he took about 20 seconds to get off the field, and you're in a position waiting for a play, and it hurts, and it hurts right there. But I didn't play in fast. We didn't play fast, but back in our day, I watched him. It really worked at Pittsburgh in the pit game, but it didn't work tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe too it didn't work because if there's a late injury and there's a new player in the backfield, or a new quarterback in the game, whatever, it's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I was just looking at they calculate the passer ratings, and I'm looking at ESPN for this. The difference between Jalen Daniels and Nico Marchiol. Nico's was 187, and I think that Jalen Daniels was something like 137. I'm looking at it right now. It was 139, almost 140. So the thing that I think right now we just don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback. Let me see. I got to fix. We'll put you up here. Is that the best place to have you, Greg? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's fine. I hear you a lot better.
Okay. There were two of you there, and I wanted to make sure I got the right Greg Christ up on the screen. But
that makes the show twice as good.
There you go. But I was just, while you were away, I was mentioning to Dwayne that the passer ratings, it was basically 140 for Daniels and 87 for Nico. What are the odds that he's going to be the starter next week against Utah?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a serious look at it. I think if you're Coach Rodriguez, I'm sure you got to take a step back. And he said, I listened to him on talking about the Pat McAfee show. He was talking about the quarterback situation, and he basically said, we got 5 quarterbacks that are all very capable. He said, but we're waiting on one to step up and show that they're the man. And he said, Nico did that a little bit against Pitt, but we need somebody to step up and just take control. And I think they're still searching, and I think that I think this week it's going to be they're going to look at it even closer. And I would not be surprised if they try somebody else to start. And I'm like Dwayne too said, I don't know if that's going to make any difference. I don't know that it's a good idea, but I think from their perspective, it's got to be thinking, it doesn't give us any less of a chance to win, with Henderson or Wilkin, whoever he wants to put in. So why not give them a shot and see what happens? Now, the only problem with that is if those guys step in and can't do it, then, and I think we saw a little bit of that in the Pitt game, then you have to look back to Nico, and you got to think about what his mindset is going to be. I'm not good enough. Screw this. They're putting somebody in because they don't like the way I'm playing. Why should I go out there and perform now? You just worry about his mindset. He's been tough through this whole thing and paid his dues, and you feel bad for him, and you feel even worse for him because it's not really all his fault. but he has not played real well. He did play good in the pit game. Other than that, he struggled. And part of that's the offensive line, part of that's the lack of a running game, but part of it's on him as well. So I would be shocked if you don't see, maybe not start, but at least see him early on next week. I'd be surprised.
What do you think, Dwayne?
Well, I saw something else too. I didn't like at all. Awful tackling, especially on the one play where the guy zigzagged and just faked two Mountaineers in one run, just completely out.
Oh, yeah,
just completely out of their shoes. The guys, you got to break down and tackle right, and they were up too high. Also, the defensive line standing up when the offensive line is down in the stance, that's automatically giving away your leverage. I mean, if you notice the left defensive tackle was standing up, while the two of them were down, and one was standing up, and the play snapped, and the other team automatically has leverage right on you. They can get to any part of your body. You need to be down and charging. But I can armchair coach all day long, I hate to do it, but that's one thing I get. Huh?
That's what we do best.
Oh, I know.
We got all the answers.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the poor tackling. If you think back to the long, I think it was the kickoff return, two guys hit him and just didn't wrap up and tackle him. They just hit him and bounced off. And
that's what
that happened all night. You're right. The tackling was poor.
Poor. Yep.
And we hadn't seen that a whole lot. I mean, we've been pretty solid tackling and doing those things, the fundamental things, but it wasn't there tonight at all.
Yeah. But they have a team coming in next week that they can beat. I think they can beat them. I think they can beat them at home. In fact, if they can get by Utah, BYU is beatable. So if you can come up with two wins, close wins, long, it doesn't matter. As long as they can come up with the two wins, it's going to head toward that kind of a good season, that you may have. But you can't have a poor tackling season, game, a blocking game, and can't pass and can't run. You're going to lose. So one of those things is going to have to straighten out at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a score up here, guys. Dwayne, in particular, the son of your former coach, Frank Signetti. Indiana 56, Illinois 10. People didn't expect it to be a blowout with 13 minutes left. I can't remember, though, was Signetti was he the quarterback he was the quarterback when you were there, correct? Your last year or no?
When I was there, he was the offensive coordinator.
I'm talking about the son.
No. His son Kurt was the one that's coaching Indiana now.
Yeah,
he was actually out on the field as a little kid. He was
a
little baby.
Well, so he couldn't have played quarterback. Maybe defensive back he could.
No.
Yeah. I can't remember. Couldn't remember when I thought he played when his dad was there, but that's not true.
No. He'd be as old as us.
Okay.
By the way, I'm 72.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Dwayne, I remember you saying when we had you on a couple weeks ago, I remember you saying you were 72, and then you keep saying as old as us, and I keep thinking, now, wait a minute. How do I get mixed into this? You and Frank are old. I'm not old.
Oh, okay.
Now you got to remember, Greg, I have the fingers on the button here. I could mute you, and I could send you to even worse than that, I could send you to the LSU game, just like that.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, I'll just say this. I'm 63 going on about 75 or 80, so I'm okay with you guys.
Well, I'll tell you, But you know that's the crazy thing about life is that when I started my working career, everybody was older than I was, and by the time I got to the end, everybody was younger than than I am, and so it's just sort of the rhythm of life. You just got to get used to it. But yeah, the only thing the thing I guess I wish this show was very different from what it was because after last week we thought we had some questions answered, and now those questions aren't answered, and they're even bigger questions. And so we are again, not really knowing what we have. And I think having players on like Dwayne, I didn't notice that what you just said, Dwayne, about the offensive linemen are in the 3 point, and our guys are standing up, and you lose leverage. That's why it's important to have people like you, knowledgeable guys have been there, done it, on the
Mhm.
show with us. And that what you've just said is that's not a high level. What I mean, it's a basic that you're going to get beaten. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So what do you do? We lost Greg again. He said before, people who've joined us, there is a thunderstorm. I think that's why he's having connection problems.
Right.
But at any rate, let's see if he is going to. Uh, Not, I thought he might send me a text, but hopefully he'll be back. But yeah, he's having trouble in Oak Hill with area with issues of weather.
Oh, is that right? And
Yeah,
what?
I guess down there. You're in Columbus. I'm
Yeah.
up north of you near Lansing, Michigan, and he's down in Oak Hill, West Virginia. So we always
Wow.
have to navigate across a lot of boundaries. But
Mm.
any rate, we're getting close to the end. Dwayne, any final comments you want to make? Words of wisdom about not only tonight's game, but where you think this thing is headed?
Okay, I
There it
went to
is.
two. I went to two games that I really cared about this weekend. Both of them were similar, but turned out different. I went to watch down in Charleston Friday night. I watched Capital High School, who had about 65 players, play St. Albans, who had only 24 players. To me, St. Albans won the game because, well, the score wasn't that way. The score was 48-0. Capital High School left their complete starters in the whole game. So therefore, there were 60 guys out on that field that didn't get to play any football at all. I mean, not quite 60, about 40. Capital was trying to run the score up with their starters, and they did. But St. Albans had that few players out there. I mean, pounding and giving away. They didn't quit. They stayed in the game. The Capital High School ran touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Today, our Mountaineers put their put their backups in. Rich Rodriguez, he didn't care about the score. He was concentrating on the future. He
Mm-hmm.
he he was watching to see where his young talent was, if they could play, if they could stand the pounding, and that's real important. Now, so he's gotten some players just a tad bit of experience, more than at Capital High will need those players in the future that didn't get any experience whatsoever when the score was already one sided. So I think that to sit back on national TV, and those young kids will watch themselves, and they'll go in and watch on film. They'll see exactly what they did. But at Capital High, all they know is what their starters can do.
Yeah,
We know some
really.
brand new names. We know some people that can't do it. We know some people that can do it, and you're gonna weed them out. And it'll take a little time for things to come together, but eventually it will.
Yeah, that's a good point because I noticed, and I'm looking it up right now at the box score, but there were names that we didn't hear much. Well, Wilkins we
Yeah,
didn't get in the game last
yeah,
week. Daklich,
yeah,
the running back, he
yeah,
had 6 rushes, 4.5 average.
yeah,
Finally, Dior Hubbard got into the game. He
yeah,
had a 5.3 average.
yeah,
Singleton got in it last week. Sincere Bowers,
yeah,
5 carries, 6 yards. And on the receiving side, Jeff Weimer got in Brian Ward was not a name we heard a lot from last week. So you're right. I think that's a good point, Greg. That's maybe the silver lining. Those
Yeah.
young guys got a chance to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And credit, like Dwayne said, credit to Coach Rodriguez for getting those guys in the game. I mean, he could have left those starters in and probably scored a touchdown or two.
Yep.
But he substituted freely on defense. I noticed last quarter, probably about 10 or 11 minutes to go, he had all new folks in there. That whole defense was with fresh people. And so, yeah, that's the way you gotta. I mean, you have to build it that way, and you can't. I know people had high hopes and that sort of thing, but to come in and bring in 75 or 80 brand new players that you haven't coached, that haven't played together, that's a tall task. I mean, I don't care how good they are. It's hard to bring that together, and you've got to build. You got to have a foundation somewhere, and you got to build and get these guys experience and let them play and let them get bigger and stronger. And that's what he's got to do right now. And I have full faith in what he's doing. And we're going to take some lumps. I said before, I remember when he first started, and I sat up there, and I had I had season tickets. But I ended up giving up my seat and walking across the other side of the field and sitting on the 50-yard line right behind the bench because there was nobody there, and we were losing to Temple. And we got beat by Temple that day, who was terrible. I think we won 3 games. And, it was like, man, what's wrong with this, this picture? But it takes time. And I think he has proven wherever he's been to be capable of putting together a formidable team and program. And I think, we just got to relax and give him time. It may take 3 or 4 years, but he's going to do it. And I have full faith in that. And I know people aren't real patient these days. They want it to happen now. But with this transfer portal, it's tough. And, if you watch any games, which I watch a bunch of them, you see a lot of names that were wearing Mountaineer jerseys last year playing for good teams this year. And you don't realize what a loss those folks are. Even tonight we saw it. And C.J. Donaldson and then Latham and the defensive lineman, I can't remember his name, started last year. I've seen all those guys playing for really good programs. And you lose that kind of a player. You just don't go out and pull one out of the portal that's a great player. You can get some players and good players, but you're not going to be able to get 50 that you need to build the program. And I think him playing those folks, these young guys, they're just going to get better. And that's our offensive line. I know people right now are just really critical of those guys. You got to give them time. I mean, you look at them, they look like babies out there compared to the other guys. They got to get bigger, stronger, and all those things. And they will, but it don't happen overnight. I mean, if it did, I'd look big and strong. It takes a lot of work and time, and you just got to give them that time, and they're going to be fine. I mean, I hate that we lost. I hate the loss in the fashion that we did lose, but at the same time, I'm not despondent and down on our program. I think that it's a building process right now, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get it there.
I have a question for you two guys. I don't think there is an answer, but you can offer your perspective and we can all speculate. Rich Rod likes to say that it's not the call, it's the execution of the call that's really important. At the end of the first half, and we drove down, and at that point it was 10-0. And we got close with some pretty innovative plays. And then when we got close to the goal line, we ran 2 running plays up the middle and then tried to throw a pass that essentially Marchiol threw away. And they panned to the sideline, and you could see Rich Rod was ready to explode. And then we kicked the field goal, and the camera followed him all the way down to the offensive coordinator, who had the quarterback surrounded him. What's your speculation about what was going on there? Was it the call that was made, the execution of the call, or something else that you think that, because he was notable how upset he was. I mean, he was just steaming.
Yeah, I think you know a lot of his system is read and react. I think they line up to run a play. I think there's several different options they can have on those plays. I think it's up to the quarterback to see what the defense does, what they look like, and then to figure out which play to, what to run, and or who to go to, or that sort of thing. And I think that's why I was upset. I think they didn't execute it like it should have been executed. I think they missed something that was there that he saw, and they didn't. And I think that was part of his frustration.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that and noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Dwayne?
That's about the same thing. The coaches, they put that bit of offense in the offensive coordinator's hands, and they're expecting something to happen that didn't happen. I can't really say that, because I saw the calls being made, and I questioned, well, why are you running up the middle? You haven't been able to have any success, but that's what we all think. In practice, it works. Things
Yeah.
work, but in the game, it doesn't work. That's basically what happened, because
Mhm.
the defensive person didn't do exactly what he charged in and cut the play off. All teams scout the other teams, and it just so happened he may have lined up a specific way that they recognized it and knew what possible plays may happen. I know when I've got to tell you the little story that goes along with it. I questioned the Penn State linebacker as we was walking off the field one day. I said, "How are you guys getting outside so quick on when we run a outside play or inside play?" And the guy told me, he says, "Woods, because you are a cheater." I said, what do you mean a cheater?" He said, "If you're going left, you cheat over about 10 inches. If you're going right, you cheat the other way about 10 inches." And that may have happened. I mean, that I said, there's no way in the world that you could sit back as a linebacker and tell that I'm doing that. He said, "I bet you, bet I did." He said, if you're going, and it's this little quirks that linebackers study and other teams study. And I think that Kansas was so upset that they lost to us last year in Morgantown that they put all their emphasis
Mm.
on West Virginia University. And we were not going to lose home in our new stadium to those Mountaineers. We're not going to do it, because they had a vicious attitude. They were pulling and tugging and hitting double and trying to kick players the whole game. And it just so happens it's not the, and our guys are young. You're supposed to kick back. It didn't happen.
And
Yeah,
they had 2 weeks to
they definitely
prepare.
seem to have a little bit more energy. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you're a running back, cheating 10 inches to the left or right not going to make a difference, but it really does at times. Certain other, all teams study the opposing team, and if you got young players in the game that don't know exactly how to slam into a hole. But I mean, Edwards, I could tell last week had played somewhere somehow before.
Hmm.
The way he ran. But
Yeah.
this week, the guys kind of tippy toeing into the hole a little bit, a little
Hmm.
slow, and the linebackers are getting there real quick. That's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes me think even more about what Greg said earlier about the system that Mark Eole is in. Because when I was teaching college and I was talking about leadership, I would say leadership is not leadership is not leadership. The context matters, the circumstance matters. Someone could be exceptional in one circumstance, same person may not be effective at all in another. And the same thing obviously applies to football. And so you just wonder. And then but what Greg said is true, is that you got an experienced hand as a head coach. He's been around. He knows how things are done. He has his system. There's no question about it. And so he's been called. He was called in to put Humpty Dumpty back on the wall.
Yep.
It's going to take some time to do it. But I like what you said, Dwayne. Next week is another game. If you watched, we talked about this earlier. Utah did not look good today. Greg talked about the quarterback. They did not look good. And so their backs are against the wall, just like ours, except they're ranked. They're in the top 20, and they were expected to challenge for the Big 12.
Right.
So yeah, we have Curtis with another comment. Rich Rod brought those 80 players in, and will probably be dealing with a high number of transfers next year. Probably true, huh?
Yeah,
Probably
I'd say.
true.
And
Yeah.
that's another thing about him. If you look at what he did at Michigan, and then at Arizona, and then at Jacksonville, it took him a couple years to get his type of players in there, and then they excelled. And even at Michigan, when he left Michigan, when Brady Hoke took over, I think they won 10 or 11 games the next year with his players that he left, because you didn't have people jumping ship like you do now. So it took him a few years to get those type of players there. And you saw what happened after he did that. So I think it's got to give him some time. And I agree, there'll probably be a lot of them transfer. And I don't know that he really cares about that. I think what he cares about is getting his type of player in, and that can run his offense. And so I don't think people transferring is not going to matter to him. That's just that's the nature of the game. That's the way the game is going to be. And people are going to transfer. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you think about this too. Where are they going to go? People can transfer all they want, but that does not mean that they're going to go somewhere and become a superstar player, or if they're not good enough, then they're not good enough. And he's trying to play people. You can see that he's playing lots of people. I'd be anxious to know exactly how many of the players on the roster actually got in the game tonight. I think it was a bunch, and so he's playing and watching these guys, and I don't know where they're going to transfer to, but yeah, there probably will be some, I'm sure. But there's going to be, they're going to transfer in too, and you talk about those transfers. Like I said, there's a lot of players playing in other schools right now that are good players that we lost, but you look at some of them that transferred to good, I say good programs, but like Virginia Tech, for example. We lost all of our offensive linemen to Virginia Tech. 4 or 5 of them went there. But you know what? Virginia Tech's offensive line is not very good either. So I mean, it is what it is, and that's just the nature of the game. He has to get his type of players, and he can't do that in 2 months. You just can't do it. Just got to be patient.
Yeah.
We've got another comment here from Earth Ether, who's been with us before. We appreciate your being here. Says Nico isn't the answer, and honestly, with the portal, it's scary because if we don't get more money, we won't get bigger, faster, stronger players. We'll be perpetual MAC step-up players. That last comment, there was a big deal this week. The Board of Governors made a big deal with a statement that the university is committed to funding the athletic program in the upper echelon of the Big 12 in real dollars. And so how they're going to do that, they didn't say. But the fact that they said that, and it was publicized by the university. What do you think about this? Earth Ether is also saying his fast-paced offense, he being Rich Rod, seems hamstrung by the refs and the players.
Yeah.
Well, I think, but again, I think a lot of teams like tonight, you didn't have the fake injuries, but what you did have was, Kansas was very deliberate on their substitutions. Whenever we would sub somebody, it would take them, 10, 15 seconds off the play clock to get their defensive players lined up. And the offense can't go until the official gets out of the way, and the official waits until they get their subs in. And, a lot of times you'll see teams get a delay game because of that, because they can't run the play because they're waiting on the subs. And that's not so much on the officials there as it is on the rules. Same way the injuries. But the official has to stand there whenever there's a substitution like that. The official has to stand and hold play until those subs get in and off, and that's just the way it is. And they use that rule, to slow down the offense a little bit. and back to one other thing here, Frank, before I shut up. You know, a lot of folks, you know, they want to win instantly, and you're just talking about the money. I will be honest about it. Unless there are some stipulations and some rules put into place about how the NIL works, you know, whether it be a salary cap, whatever it is. You know, everybody thought with the House settlement that was going to kind of solve things because that money, everybody's going to have the same amount of money. But I'm telling you right now, everybody don't have the same amount of money. And it's going to be very difficult for schools like WVU to stay competitive unless they change the rules a little bit.
Yep.
No.
I know that. I know that talking to other coaches and players and around the country, that some players are getting rich in college.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
and it's never gonna be public information because it's donors that help out with they guaranteeing this guy's going to stay here, and we're guaranteeing when guys are going to just hang around. But it's becoming a real big headache. I don't know how it's going to work, because now you got the parents jumping on the coaches because you gave him 100,000, but my son's only getting 50. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
so that's it's getting messy. I mean, in the
Yeah.
background, it's but some coaches have patience, and some of them, like the coach from Alabama, he said he don't want to be bothered with it. He said
Yep.
Mhm.
I'd rather quit. He
Yeah.
said that's gonna it's a real mess with this NIL money and plan for money in college. It's not gonna it's not gonna be pretty. There's gonna be some haves. There's gonna be some have-nots.
Yeah.
Well, you're living there in Columbus right now, Dwayne, and you know you're living the reality that right now there are no boundaries. It's just more money, more money, more money, and that's unsustainable. And in the Big 12, Texas Tech is showing that they want to be they want to be the big Kahuna in the Big 12, and they're throwing money at all sports, including
Yeah.
softball, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
And so, as a consequence, it's going to be difficult. And you know, it's great that West Virginia, but the proof is in the pudding if they can actually do that. Because, as Greg said, unless there are some kind of parameters put on this, it's just going to be more and more and more and more, rather than some kind of boundaries as to no, you can't do that. And then the nil structure changing from organizations that were outside of the university to now having nil managed within the university. You know, we had the Country Roads Trust, which doesn't exist anymore. And so, because it's gone into the university, it's being administered by the university. It's tough. And we have a comment. I think caps and positions should be capped. Stop the transfers so much. We can't go more and more. Absolutely, Earth Ether. We're after 1 hour. Hey guys, this
Yeah.
went fast.
Yeah.
Greg,
Yeah. I thought I started to text you and say, do you want to start in 5 minutes and just let's do this a half hour and get this over with? Just because it's such a miserable game, but no, it's always fun to get on here and talk about it, and you know, it helps you. You know, it really helps to vent a little bit and talk about it and get other people's perspective rather than just sitting around griping about it, feeling bad.
Yeah.
You know, it helps me. It's a therapeutic for me to get over here and spew my
That's
garbage.
absolutely.
I don't say garbage, but it's garbage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough night, but we're gonna be all right.
Yep. And it was great to have Dwayne with us
Yes,
for
sir.
both the pre and the post.
Absolutely, Dwayne. We appreciate you, buddy.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, you did
Absolutely.
it?
We will definitely have you back again and
Okay.
get you back on our show and on this pre and post game show as well. So we enjoyed that. Frank,
Okay.
as always, pleasure with talking with you and dealing with a tough loss. Again, therapeutic for me. I appreciate you and appreciate everybody for tuning in and all the people that commented. We thank you as well. We want to remind you again, Wednesday night, we'll be back on with the Mountaineer Locker Room then and now. We'll have Danny Kinder on with us. That'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. and then we'll start getting ready for our next one, and hopefully we can get it together and pull off a big win against Utah. You know, the best thing, Frank, and the sign of a decent team, you forget about the last play, start thinking about the next one. So hopefully our guys are focused in on Utah, and we can get in there and get that win. So we look forward to that. And there's Frank just put it up. We'll be on the air at 2:00 next week. Game is at 3:30, I think, on Fox. So we'll be there at 2 for the pregame, and then we'll have the postgame 30 minutes after that. So we hope you'll tune in and join us for all the fun. So we look forward to it. For Frank and for Dwayne, I'm Greg, and you've been watching on the Voice of College Football, and we appreciate you tuning in. We look forward to seeing you again Wednesday night. So good night, everybody. Hang in there. We'll be back.
Okay, I appreciate it. Frank, remember, I want you to make that call.
I shall. I will.
Okay.
I'll talk to you in a few minutes. Goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.